Business for Unicorns podcast is for fitness business owners who want actionable strategies to grow their business, take amazing care of their clients, and build a life and business they truly love. I'm your host, Michael Keeler, co-founder of Mark Fisher Fitness, and through Business for Unicorns, I'm a coach and consultant to industry-leading fitness studios around the world. Let's get started. Hey, what's up, fitness business nerds? It's me and Mark for a bonus episode. How you doing, Fisher?
I'm doing well.
Let's dive in. We actually have 2 questions from listeners. What a treat. We're so popular. People are just sending in questions. Let's start with this one. We have a question. I'm going to use first names on here because I don't know if we didn't ask for permission to use our names, but Yakira wants to know about kind of team camaraderie. She wants to know what tips or suggestions we have for getting a team to engage outside of the workplace and really kind of like each other and work on their friendships. At least that's how I interpreted her questions. Is that how you interpreted it?
Yes.
Yeah. You want to start this one?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, the challenge is I think I have a lot of empathy for this because I think this is a tough thing because definitionally, when you make people hang out and you make them be friends and it becomes compulsory, that's not the most fertile garden for actual connections and friendships to develop. On the other hand, if people are not spending any time together socially, it's difficult for the team to feel like they're really bonded and more than a bunch of mostly anonymous coworkers. So this is a tough one. What do you have? I got nothing. I'm sure you've got some great ideas.
I have some thoughts. I mean, we've talked about this a lot over the years, and I think this for me falls in this bucket of culture, right? Or kind of cumulative learning and understanding of how we do things around here. And part of our approach to building culture and what we talk about in our courses is you can't really force it. You have to kind of just make space for it to happen, right? It's a little bit like tending a garden. I think the same thing is true for your team. If you want them to really form genuine connections and have authentic interactions, your job is to create time and space where that's possible. And then they have to do the rest. You can't just lock them in a room and be like, be friends, So I think, we did a lot of different ways through MFF. One is during our team meetings, we would talk about topics that weren't just work related sometimes. We would allow our personal lives and our feelings very often to kind of seep into those meetings and make that okay. So people were talking about not just, the last session they coached, but what went on their weekend, their favorite movie, their favorite thing to do in summertime. And so we would fold into our team meetings things that were personal on purpose so people get to know more than just everyone's work persona. I think the other thing that we've done repeatedly is make sure that we have social engagements planned outside of the building. And we quite famously used to have parties every 6 or 8 weeks for many years for after a snatch in 6 weeks, where our parties would start at very late at night, sometimes 11 o'clock. They would start. And these were parties that people were very clearly showing up as their personal selves. And, it's very hard at 11 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday night to show up and put on your work self. So by default, those times and those spaces and those environments just really encourage people to be themselves and get to know each other on a personal level. So I think those are the places I would start, is make time and space for it in the building in terms of how you all act when you're together, the exercises you do, the conversations you have, and then make time and space for it outside of the workplace. And also, I'll end with this, have it be okay when someone doesn't want best friends at work. Right? We really want more people at work to be friends than not, but there's going to be people who are real introverts who want their work to be work and their personal life to be personal life, and those boundaries can be healthy, and it's important for us to normalize that choice as well. Yeah. Anything you would add?
Yeah, I guess the one thing that might be worth considering as well is my understanding the context of this question that makes this so challenging is a lot of these individuals are mostly part-time. They're maybe only working a few hours a week. They've got families, they've got jobs. Part of what made MFF so easy in the beginning is we were all full-time and we were all around the same age and we were all hung out all the time socially. When you're looking for team camaraderie, I think in a more traditional professional setting where you're knitting together part-timers into a work community, some of you might not even have regular team meetings because people's schedules are so all over the place. So another thing that you might want to consider, and I don't know if we go so far to make this compulsory, but potentially, in addition to having optional social events that are people are invited to come to on a semi-regular basis, and ideally crafting them around activities that people genuinely enjoy and really want to come and be a part of, might be once or twice a year doing even a mini retreat. So another thing we've done at MFF, we didn't do this last year because sadly the world was on fire. But historically, every year we've all gone away together for a solid 48 hours into a big house upstate and just hung out and just spent time together. I think the first year we did maybe 60 minutes of the work, but mostly we just hang out and bake and eat cookies. And it's great. And it's a lot of fun. And you might find that if you're dealing with a bunch of part-timers that if you're not able to consistently get them to spend time together, but you want more connection and camaraderie among the team, something in between, maybe every 6 months you do even again, softly mandatory-ish, but some sort of dedicated 6-hour hang session that's planned out in advance that has partly maybe dinner social element at the end, but has some really intentional icebreaker, trust building types of exercises to really get to know each other as humans. And we're happy to advise that offline if you want to email us. There's all sorts of particular frameworks you can do for that can be very powerful to expedite the friendshipping of the people that work together on your team.
Yeah, I think that's such a smart idea. It's mini retreats or big retreats. I think so much of our relationships are crafted around the context in which we're both interrelating to each other. And if you can just change the context, just be somewhere in a house 90 minutes north of New York City, the context can change the way people show up considerably. So I love that suggestion. Cool. Let's answer the second question. Hopefully that helped you a little bit, Yakira, but reach out to us if we can do more. Second one comes to us from James. And James, I'll paraphrase, said something like he's having a hard time finding amazing, qualified people to hire right now because people don't want to work. I think part of his challenge, and I don't know what state James is in or where he is in the world, but that his people are getting such good unemployment benefits or non-working benefits that coming back to work, let alone work in person, is not something he's easily able to find. People who want to do. That was a weird way to say that, but you get what I'm saying. And we haven't done a lot with this yet at Mark Fisher Fitness, specifically because we haven't really been able to open much. But even when we did open a little, we had a little bit of this where some of our team members were not interested in coming back face to face and wanted to continue working a little less and online. And so, how do you think about this, Fisher, when we are going to be able to reopen, and if we struggle to find people right away who are wanting to come back and work and wanting to let go of those unemployment benefits? What do you do?
It is legitimately challenging, but I think it's no more legitimately challenging than finding leads who become trials, who become members. I think the challenge is it actually is always going to be a lot of work to find really, really good people. I do think it is fair to say these are some particularly difficult circumstances when, depending on the state you're in, people are making excess of $1,000 to not work. And if they work for you, for many of you, based on your training gym, if you're looking for an entry-level trainer, they're maybe not making that much. Yeah. So to be clear, I'm not dismissing that as a very, very real challenge. The good news, bad news, depending on how you look at it, is like that's not a forever thing. That will go away. Yeah. But regardless, your strategy to address it is the same, which is getting as many people you can into the top of the funnel. And there are all sorts of strategies that one can do that. Certainly asking among your members, posting on social media sites. We recently did a job search on Indeed, and admittedly, we're in New York City and there was a remote position. And I was just looking to gather people for long-term consideration. And it was pretty amazing / overwhelming. I think we had well over 100 people apply for each of those positions. Now, another pro tip, because many of these individuals you could see at a glance were not qualified. And then when you look at it, they seem qualified. I would then make them jump through one more hoop, which would be follow up with this email, send me a PDF of your resume and a 60-second video of why you want to work with Mark Fisher Fitness. And the good news is that also gets rid of 90% of the candidates because only 10% of the people, they're not just clicking on Indeed. However, now the reality is we did have to go through 100, 200 submissions to find a couple viable people. But I'll take it. We found a couple of viable people. And just like marketing, that was only one of the fishing poles we had in the water, so to speak. So if that was the only fishing pole, that would be a challenge. But of course, we're also talking to members. We're looking at our professional networks. We are considering people we've worked with in the past. And just like marketing, I think you have to simultaneously be doing all of those things. And as always, because I like to be real with you, the real constraint is always your capacity. So admittedly, that sounds all great in theory, where I think the details sometimes become very challenging is in practice if you're trying to do that while working your normal job. And believe me, we just hired one part-time member addition to our biz team, and we are looking for another trainer. And it has been an additional 5 to 10 hours per week, every week for me. And I'm not even the main hiring manager. There's other people working on this too. So I have a lot of empathy for this. I think you're right. It is difficult. And I think like anything else, it is doable, but you will have to just put in 10x more work than feels like is fair.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I'll just plus one all the things you said, Fisher. I think the only thing I'll add, is it might be harder to find people because there's some folks who don't want to work right now, and also there's more unemployed humans than there has been in this country than ever in my lifetime. In my lifetime, perhaps, and so there are people out there who need work, and I do think that if there's folks who are applying for a job, let's just say as a trainer, and they're choosing not to apply for your job right now as a trainer, then I don't know, maybe this is a judgment that's unfair, but I'm going to say it anyway. I wonder how passionate they really are about being a trainer. If they'd rather sit at home and not do that work and make money. I'm not judging that choice because I get why some people want to do it. Maybe people are also afraid to come out for COVID. But I want people on my team who are maybe willing to make the same, if not a little less, hopefully more than they are on unemployment, to come and do work that they're really passionate about, that they're like fired up and they get out of bed. They can't wait to get up and start training people and talk about fitness and change people's lives. Like, I want that person. And if they're held back because of this unemployment benefit they're getting right now, I don't know if the right fit for us to begin with. So I don't know, there's something in that to consider, which is just be grateful that, that people aren't applying who are half-heartedly interested in doing this work. And just by making it a little easier for them to stay at home, they're choosing not to. I don't know. That's not the best. That's not the kind of candidate I want. Is that fair, Fisher? Am I being unfair?
No, I feel it's very fair. I also think that two other things that comes to mind that are things to consider here is, first of all, there's obviously a lot of numbers being thrown right now and how verifiable they are not as far as how many fitness facilities are closing. You're consistently hearing 30%, 40% of gyms will have closed by the time all said and done here. So now I realize this is market dependent, but depending on the market you're in, if there are any other facilities, any fitness facility really, because we're talking independent studios, health clubs, chains, et cetera, there will be a number of people previously employed by those organizations that now no longer have a job because those organizations have folded.
Yep.
And I will now say something very provocative and controversial that I do not know to be true.
Ooh. But
here's something I think might happen. I think one thing that might be beneficial, and this is entirely possible, me just like hoping this happens, and I mean this with so much love, is I think there are going to be a lot of former employees that get excited about the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, that go online to make a living doing online training and discover very quickly actually what a terrible, challenging grind it is. And long term, I think in 6 months to 12 months to maybe 18 months, this might be a huge boon to gyms and facilities that need employees, because what will happen is a lot of these individuals who previously during their employment had a secret belief inside that, oh, if I was doing this myself, I'd be making so much more money anyway. Yeah. And we're feeling like, oh, if I was doing my own thing, I'd be keeping all the money. I don't even know why this guy's keeping all the money. I'm doing all the work out here. I'm doing all the sweat. And by the way, trainers listening, you're probably thinking this. It's okay. It's a very normal thing to think. I thought the same way. Don't worry. You're not a bad person. But the challenge is when that's just a belief and a story that, oh, I could do it if I, like it happens in business all the time. A lot of people are like, oh, I could be successful with that thing if I just, no, you couldn't. It's complete planning fallacy. And now some of these individuals, yes, there will be some of them that do find, in fact, they are entrepreneurial and they are interested and willing and talented at the skills required to grow a business in a predictable way that they can really make a good livelihood running their own ship. And even if they're making the same or less money, that's a better fit for them. And that is awesome. That is fantastic. And I suspect the vast majority of these individuals that try to go it their alone, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, are going to get really, really tired of the slog, and they will return chastened. I don't mean to say this in a judgmental way, but I think they'll be chastened and they'll return back to a life as an employee, because there are certain advantages to that you don't have when you have to be out there killing what you eat.
Yeah, I think they'll be looking for comfort. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%. And we're seeing a little bit of that kind of already, not people who have tried long enough that they've given up, But the online space for fitness is so saturated in this moment. I mean, everyone I know has some version of something online, whether it's nutrition coaching, or they're all using Trainer Eyes, or they're doing Zoom workouts like us. There's so much of that we're not all going to be making it 6, 12, 18 months from now. There's going to be people who it doesn't work out for, and folks will be wanting to come back to the models many of the models that we had before, and wanting the stability of employment from someone else. And to your point, I hope some of them make it. I hope some of them find a better, greener grass on the other side. And many sadly won't, but that's okay, because many people are probably better off long term actually having stable employment than being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. One other final note I'll make that I don't really have a comment on or even a guess is what's going to happen. I think I'm most interested to see, and this doesn't affect us at MFF, not because our team is not amazing, but we don't have a team of 30, 50,000, 90,000 followers on their personal Instagrams. And I think that's going to be really interesting to see, particularly in a market like New York City, which is so much personality dominated. And a lot of these brands, these organizations, these umbrellas have worked very hard to build the personal brand, the portfolio of their trainers and coaches. Well, most of marketing is just having the audience. You also have to deliver, you have to make offers. It's more than just that. But if you've already got an audience of 75,000, 100,000 Instagram followers, and I realize it's not most people listening, but that's pretty common in New York City in the fancy schmancy boutique fitness studio space. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen, because I don't see a lot of those individuals. I don't know that they are going to be incentivized to go back to the bigger brand name boutique studios, because they can just do their own thing. Well,
and they're the exceptions. And in fact, I'm having one on this podcast coming up in a few episodes. Sam Light, who is a performer on Broadway, but has a ton of Instagram followers and has made his fitness business over the last 2 years, mainly with his Instagram followers. He's going to be a guest. So we'll be talking exactly about how he did it. But even from our conversation, he knows that he's a little bit of an anomaly, that he actually has the kind of entrepreneurial spirit to turn followers into money. And he's doing both the influencer strategy of getting what is it called? Sponsors? Sponsorships, ads. Plus, he's selling actual fitness services to people. So he's gotten multiple streams of revenue, but it takes a unique individual to juggle that kind of solopreneurship. He's even building a team around him already to help with it. And so actually, we'll cover that in a few episodes, because I think that is going to be what we see more and more of. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're a little squeezed for time, so we got to wrap it up today. This is a quick one.
Hooray.
We covered 2 great topics. So James and Yakira, if we answered your question, fantastic. If you still need a little bit of help, or anyone else listening or watching want to ask a question or follow up with these topics, email us, mark@businessunicorns.com, michael@businessunicorns.com. Reach out to us on the Instagrams as well. Anything else you want to share, Fisher?
No, other than my always final plea to do the things, click the things and like the things and subscribe to the things and follow the things.
Do all of those things.
Do those things.
Subscribe, hit the bells, all the things. Thanks so much, dude. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you all next time. Bye. Hey, friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it, and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.